Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. So let's talk about Maggie versus Negan, because Scott Gimple actually made some comments. He set up some stuff for the final season as it comes to those two characters, and he said something more specifically about Maggie and her whole feud with Negan not defining her, which I think is actually super important. And we'll get into what he said here right away, but I also think that is so important. Like, Maggie has been defined by what happened at the end of season 6, like the season 6 finale. Ever since that moment, and it was a pretty big moment, obviously it was going to be her big story, but it's been several years now. And yes, she has left the show for a bit, but it is still her main storyline. It is still her main thing, and she hasn't really done anything else. It's also kind of been Negan's storyline too, at least for a little bit. Obviously, before Maggie came back in season 10, his story was very different. In season 9, he was kind of being punished for everything. He was in that cell for a long time, so he was kind of absent for most of season 9. But in season 10, his main story was very separate from that. He was trying to kill Alpha. They were trying to find him, sure, but he actually had a lot of other things to do. And then as soon as Maggie comes back into the picture, then all of this stuff comes back up again. And I could actually see why some people are pretty upset about that, because there is a part of me that is kind of sick of the Maggie versus Negan thing, but I also am excited because you do have to finish this one final part of the story. Like, she was okay with him being in the cell for life, basically, and obviously he's now been allowed out. And so she's going to have a lot of issues with that. And so I think there's going to be this one last final story here between them and whatever's going to happen. And then afterwards, we'll see where they go at that point. But the fact that Gimple did say this about Maggie, I'm excited because I think that means that Maggie is going to have something else to do. And I think that's going to be what the comic story is, but they're going to set it up a lot more so, which is she will become the leader of the Commonwealth. So before we go any further, I do have to warn you for spoilers, obviously, for The Walking Dead. And if you are new here, make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this. Now, I guess the first thing we should get into here is the comment made by Gimple about Maggie in the final season, and I'll leave a link to the article where I got this. I believe all of this stuff is from an interview or something that he said on Twitch, so I guess I should just be watching that, but this is what he had to say. He said, it certainly isn't just about that Maggie versus Negan. She isn't defined by that. It is some pretty crucial business. Obviously, the end of the episode here's Negan seems to tell us that it's nothing to sneeze at. She was out there doing pretty incredible things. She went from someone who was listening to her dad, obviously, and wasn't sure walkers were sick or whether they were dead, to someone who very quickly became the leader of a community and stabilized them and led them through some very difficult stuff. She wore that in a way that seemed like she was born for it. That's a huge part of her story. Even motherhood, I wouldn't say would define her. And I also really agree with that last part too. Obviously, becoming a mother is a big part of your story, and I think a big part of your life, like just in real life in general. But I also know, as well as being a dad too, just like you can't let it define you completely, because it will just completely consume you. And it sounds a little terrible to say, but it's, if you always play parent all the time and you don't take time for yourself and you don't focus on yourself to do your own things and, you know, live life like you used to when you were like a teenager, kid, whatever, you're going to lose yourself. You're going to let yourself go. And it's really hard. And I would say that it kind of relates with Maggie too, with the whole motherhood thing, because I think that that has kind of been her story for a while. It's been the whole Negan thing and dealing with that. And then also now she's a mom, right? And I think that we need more from her, and I think they should give her a lot more to do, because Maggie's an awesome character. They can do so much with her. Give her a part of the story like Carol and Daryl have, right? And so I hope they do that in the final season. Obviously, being a mother is a big part of it. You know, it's a privilege that she has that. I was going to say that Carol doesn't, but that would be bad to say. But it is a huge part of her life, obviously. It's just, I want to see more from the character, and I really hope that we do. And so hearing these comments here by Gimple, it's reassuring, because I think that Maggie, she deserves a lot more, and I do think we're going to see a lot more from her. And I also do wonder where she stands on the whole Negan situation. Like, I know where she stands, obviously, but she's been in this place where no one seems to be listening to her, and it must be really frustrating, right? Because everything she says, no one cares, it seems like. Like, she brought up all of her points to Rick and Michonne, they never cared. And now she's a little concerned, and she's talking with Carol and Daryl, they don't really seem to care either. I mean, obviously, they all do care. I'm not saying that they don't, but they can't just like kill him. They can't just do that. And honestly, I don't think Maggie wants to either. And it's hard to get a good read on the character based off of what we saw anyways in the finale, because again, these 6 bonus episodes never advance the story at all. It's basically, it was just, here are some character moments. And so any of Maggie's motivation or anything that she's thinking, they're not going to change it too much because they already have stuff set up for the final season because they were filming that right away. They can't change too much of the story. They just came up with some bonus content in between. Yes, we saw Maggie reacting to Negan, not doing a lot. And even in Here's Negan, she's staring him down and she's not freaking out or anything, but it's because she can't. She has to wait for the final season, stupidly, because obviously the writers have a lot of plans for the final season. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be much of a situation where Maggie is just like okay with living with him and she's not going to bring anything up. I just think that was more of, we can't really write anything else in here. These are bonus episodes, and so we're going to have to dance around it a little bit. Give them stuff here and there, which we got, like give Maggie staring him down, but we can't really do a lot there. And so this is another question I have for you guys, and that is, does Maggie versus Negan have to wrap up quickly? Because we also don't want Negan's story to be defined by that as well, right? Like there is that whole aspect to it. Like, is his final arc here going to be defined by what he did to Glenn? And obviously, I remember Gimple saying that around, I think it was after the season 6 finale. He said that, or maybe it was after the season 7 premiere. It was whenever the deaths happened. I guess it would have been after the season 7 premiere, but I remember him saying that that moment is going to define the series, which is like, I guess he was right about that, but I think he meant more in terms of storytelling going forward. But it literally defines the series in the sense of that was a really bad thing to do because that cliffhanger was hell. It's not so bad now because you can just stream it on Netflix, but I remember that wait. I remember that build up. Oh my God, I was pissed. One of the worst cliffhangers of all time, easily. But I want something more from these characters because this is the final season. I want this story to be wrapped up, like with the Maggie and Negan drama. I want this story to be wrapped up as fast as it can, at least all the drama of it, if possible, within the first 8 episodes. I think after that, you can go and do other things. Maybe Negan is away from Maggie, or if they are together, or depending on what they do there. I don't think they're ever going to be friends. I don't think we're going to get anything like that with them. But I think it would be really smart to have them do different things. Have Maggie really, I guess, it involved with the Commonwealth arc, because in the comics, she does become a leader. And so there's a lot of communication with Pamela Milton. There's a lot of setup there with, I guess, the people of the Commonwealth. And she's a natural born leader. You can obviously, like, that's so obvious at this point. She's one of the greatest leaders of the show. And so I think we need to see that. I want to see President Ree, I guess her name would be, right? She will be, or I guess Governor Ree, or whatever it's going to be. Like, she's going to be the new leader of the Commonwealth eventually. That's where they're going with this series. And I think that should be her main focus. That's kind of always been her story, was rising to become a leader. And I think that's actually the perfect thing to focus on. There are some downsides to it, like in the sense that, at least in the comic anyways, she was so like career focused, I guess you could say, that she completely alienated Herschel Reed, like her son. And when he was older, he became a complete asshole. Like, there's that mixed with being spoiled, I guess, because he's the son of like the leader kind of thing. And so she wasn't the greatest parent, but you know, everyone has their flaws. Every character on the show or in the series has their flaws. I don't know if they'll do the same thing here on the show, but in the comic, that was pretty evident, obviously. We all saw Herschel in that final issue. Like, none of us liked him, and that was so disappointing to see him like that. But Maggie was doing her other things. You know, I think Herschel probably felt pretty neglected. I don't think he probably has a lot of father issues because he never had his father growing up. Maggie seemed to be single as well. I don't think he had a lot of male role models in his life, so I think there's that. He wasn't around his mom a lot because his mom is the leader and doing a lot of other things. And so I think that's why he turned out that way. I think it makes sense. I think it's like textbook, right? So I hope Herschel Ree on the show doesn't turn out that way. I don't think so, because Maggie seems to be a better mom. Like, honestly, like, she seems to be, it's different because kids are all sweet and stuff when they're young, right? Once they're teenagers, that's where things can change. So I think the next part of her story should be the Commonwealth arc, and I think it would be a lot of fun. Honestly, I can't wait to see where they're going to be going next with her, because there's so much that you can do here. And the same goes with Negan. There is a lot of possibilities here. I think Negan, in the end, is going to leave Alexandria because I think they're going to do a series on him. I think it's going to be him surviving out there doing whatever. I don't think it's possible for him to stay in Alexandria. And I think it's going to be something that's actually going to be very sad in the end when he has to say goodbye to Judith. I guess he doesn't really have that close of a relationship with RJ, but saying goodbye to Judith, I think is going to be heartbreaking for him. And I think that it's just going to be one of those moments where he leaves. It's heartbreaking, but he'll always kind of be around, I think. And I also think they're going to take that moment from the comic where Carl, he misses Negan. Negan's just kind of been away. And so he goes to visit him here and there. He hasn't seen him in years. He doesn't know if he's even there. And so he leaves food by the door or whatever. Like, he leaves stuff by the door for him. And so I think that's going to be kind of the whole situation here with Negan and Judith. I think that they're always going to have that close connection. I think that that was just something that was formed over the years of Negan staying in that cell and Judith being very curious and walking up to that cell and talking to the old man in there, right? I think it's a really cool relationship, and I think that's always going to connect Negan and Rick. And I think that's why Rick will always have a soft spot kind of for Negan in that way, and as well as Daryl and everyone else in the community besides Maggie, obviously. And I'm just excited. I really can't wait for this next part of the story. I can't wait to see where Maggie and Negan are going to go. I can't wait to meet Pamela Milton. And I'm also going to be doing a video, probably not tomorrow because it is Fear the Walking Dead Day or whatever. So on Monday, most likely, I want to talk about the season 11 premiere. I want to talk about more specifically all the teasers and photos that we got, because I was looking at some stuff. They did release a photo actually like a few months ago or a month or whatever ago, and I totally forgot about that photo. It actually relates with a trailer that we got the other day, and I can see where there's at least the story for the first episode is going to be. So yeah, I want to give some predictions on what I think is going to happen in that first episode, or at least the first 2 episodes, because we know that it's a 2-parter, right? So I'm excited for that, but I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post your thoughts on Maggie and Negan down below. Your thoughts, I guess, on what Gimple had to say here. And what do you want to see from Maggie in the final season? What are your future predictions for them after the show is over? Because I know that's like the big question, I guess. As soon as we get into the final season, that's going to be the question as we near the end, right? So hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.